last 6 months, all of us have been sitting on the edge of our seat waiting for car prices to go down, and yet prices haven't gone down. And despite things heading in the right direction, we still have a ways to go before it's the optimal time to buy a new or used vehicle. But I do have some good news, because though I don't think today is the right time to buy either a new or used car, I do think that there are things that you can be doing today to set you up for success whenever it comes time to purchase that vehicle. The advice that I'm going to be giving in this video are the exact steps and the exact things that I do whenever I'm buying cars for my own fleet. And this year alone, I've purchased over half a dozen vehicles, all of which were purchased for a below market value price. So let's get started. Now, the idea behind this video is to put yourself in a position to succeed whenever it comes to buying a car. You want to make sure that you're an educated buyer, that you know exactly what you're looking for. That way, whenever car prices do fall, and believe me, they're going to fall, you've set yourself up for success and you don't have to wonder or worry if you're getting a good deal. You're going to know that you're getting a good deal because you're an educated buyer. Now, first and foremost is the most important step of the process, and that is to know which vehicle you're wanting to buy. I cannot stress how important this is enough to know exactly what type of car you're wanting to buy before you go into the dealership to buy that car. It is a crucial step of the process, because if you are one of those buyers that goes into a dealership, you don't know what you're looking for, you don't exactly know the price range, you don't know the trim, you're kind of a blank slate, that is leaving salesmen open to take advantage of you and to put you into a vehicle that you either don't want or you can't afford. And that is the worst case scenario. A buyer that doesn't know what they want is the salesman's perfect scenario, because these are the ones that get convinced to buy a higher trim, a more expensive vehicle, and the ones that get suckered into shady dealer add-ons. And right now is the perfect time to protect yourself from this happening to you, because we are a few months away from prices really dropping like a bomb, and this is a great time for you to do your due diligence. Figure out the make and model of the car you want to buy. Figure out the exact trim level. Even go to a dealership and test drive a few ones to see which ones you like the best. You should also figure out how much you want to pay for that car. And I'm not talking about how much you're wanting to pay per month, because that's how the dealerships get you. I'm talking about how much do you want to pay for that entire vehicle, including tax, title, and license. What do you want to pay? What can you actually afford? And what is your actual top dollar price that you absolutely do not want to go above? But you shouldn't even stop at that. You should start to look into the different add-ons that you want for your vehicle as well. And almost more importantly, which ones you don't want. For example, warranties can be a good buy in some cases, but things like paint protection, tint, and upgraded tires and wheels can oftentimes be purchased cheaper through a third-party distributor. Knowing what you want to buy and how much you want to pay for that is incredibly important, and it is one of the best things that you can do in order to protect yourself from buying a car because you're fearing of missing out of that purchase, buying a car because the salesman talked you into it, or buying a car that you simply can't afford or that's stretching your budget too thin. But like I mentioned a moment ago, knowing exactly what type of car you want is just one piece of the puzzle, because the other piece of the puzzle is knowing exactly how much you want to pay for that car and what a fair market price for that car is, but even more important, what a below market value price is. I talk about below market value a lot on this channel, and that's because whenever you're a car sharing host like I am, buying below market value is incredibly important, because it's what's going to protect you in the case of an accident, a damage claim, or if a car goes missing. If you're buying a car for personal use, the below market value aspect isn't quite as important, but it is important if you're somebody that really wants to get a good deal on a car. But it won't make or break you the same way that a car sharing business will if they overpay for a vehicle. The idea of below market value is buying a car for under what it's worth. And typically how I gauge that is I look to see how much a car is selling for online on different platforms like Craigslist, Facebook, Cars.com, AutoTrader, and I also look at the KPV value of that vehicle as well. By doing this research, you can get a pretty good idea of how much this car is actually being sold for and what a fair price for that vehicle is. And typically what I look for whenever I'm buying a car is a car below that average price. So for example, if the average price of a car is $10,000, I may try to get that exact same car for $8,000 or $9,000. With my Maserati Ghibli that I purchased last year, a fair market value for that car was $32,000 and I paid $29,500. These are some of the examples of below market value, and you can get below market value whether you pay $5,000 for a car or $100,000 for a car. The deals are there, you just really have to look for them and you have to time it right. But you can't do that if you don't do your research and if you don't figure out what a below market value price is and how much you're wanting to pay for that vehicle. Whenever you look at the car market today, you'll most likely notice that prices are still inflated. That's because we're still in an inflated car market today. So you can't base the price that you want to buy a car for off of the prices that we're seeing today because they're not exactly the true value of those cars. Instead, what you want to look at is you want to see how much these cars are actually being sold for, not what these cars are being listed for. Because a dealership or a seller can list a car for 25% above KBB all day long, but unless people are buying it for that price, then the car isn't worth that price. So again, what I would recommend to do is to keep an eye on your local vehicle listings and your local dealerships. See how long vehicles are sitting on dealership lots, see how long vehicle listings are active, and this will give you a good gauge on how the demand actually is in an applicable sense. The lower the demand, the better, and the lower the demand means that you can warrant a lower purchase price for that car. It costs dealerships to have cars sitting on their lots. So if they're sitting, that's a great sign for you because it means you can go in, ask for a below market value price, and there's a better chance that they would agree to that. Of course, doing this today may not be as successful as waiting 2 to 3 months down the road and attempting the same buying tactic at that point. The longer you can wait, the better, because as this car market begins to decline more and more, car dealerships and car sellers will become more and more desperate. But in summary, do your research, figure out how much your car is being sold for, figure out how much your car is worth. You can use resources like Car Gurus, KBB, Auto Trader in order to figure that out. And then you want to make sure to try to get below that price. Below market value is key if you're somebody that really values a deal. The third piece of the puzzle, and this is one that I think is oftentimes forgotten, and that is to arrange financing. If you are a car buyer, you don't want to wait until you're ready to drive off that dealership lot to arrange financing, because that puts you in a disadvantaged position. You should not only know how much you want to pay for the car, roughly how much you can afford per month, but you should also figure out exactly how you're going to pay for it. That includes where you're going to get your financing, roughly what the interest rate of that financing will be, and how much money you'll have to put down. Depending on your credit score and how much cash you have lying around, this may not be an issue for you, and you may be somebody that actually could wait until the day of to officially arrange financing. But if you're somebody that doesn't have a ton of extra cash or a less than stellar credit score, this is something that you'll want to put more thought into. Do your research, figure out which banks have different incentives, what the different relationships are with these banks, interest rates, and the different advantages of going with different institutions. For example, sometimes going with the dealership financing could be a good play if it's a lower interest rate and if it gets you a better deal on the car. But other times it may make sense to go with the bank that you personally bank with or that you have a business banking account with. In some other cases, going with a credit union could be the right play. Or potentially getting financing through a bank that you want to have a long-term relationship with could be a good play in order to foster that relationship moving forward. One thing that is also good to keep in mind is future vehicle purchases as well. If you're somebody that at some point in time wants to buy a higher end, more expensive car, then you may want to get a loan with a bank that you would eventually want to get that financing through as well. Like vehicle financing is a very real thing in the vehicle financing space. And this is actually something that my fiance HP and I recently went through back in May whenever we purchased his GT500. You see, whenever HP bought his GT500, he had a lot of trouble getting financing for that car because up until that point, the largest vehicle loan that he had ever had was for his Focus ST, which was back in 2014 for $20,000. But because the GT500 and the Focus ST aren't even in the same ballpark as far as value goes and as far as auto financing goes, the banks had a lot of trouble taking him seriously because he had no like vehicle financing, despite the fact that he has a perfect credit score and makes enough money to qualify. So if you're somebody that wants to at some point buy a more expensive car, whether that's a $75,000 car or $150,000 car, choosing a banking institution that you can have a long-term relationship with that can help you purchase the vehicle today as well as the vehicle in the future, that's something that could be a smart play. But this, of course, would depend on your long-term goals, your financial position, as well as the different relationships that you want to have with a bank. And last, but certainly not least, is to be patient. You see, once you know exactly what type of car you want to buy, you know how much you're wanting to pay, and you know how you're going to pay for it, you've basically solved every single piece of the puzzle. And you put yourself in a position to be a well-educated buyer, but now you have to wait for that good deal to come along. You see, whenever you know exactly what type of car you want, how much you're willing to pay for it, and how you're going to pay for it, you've solved every single important piece of the puzzle, and now you are a much more educated buyer. You've put yourself into a position to where whenever you see a below market value deal, you can jump on it and you can buy that car. But it does take time. I get asked all the time how I find my cars for so cheap. And the truth is that I spend a lot of time looking online for vehicles to buy. I look at my phone whenever I'm standing in line at the grocery store, whenever I'm cooking dinner, whenever I'm sitting on the couch watching TV at night. I look at my phone all the time looking for deals for cars to buy on Facebook, Craigslist, Cars.com, AutoTrader, and so much more. And by doing this every single day, I'm able to jump on good deals whenever I find them. But if I didn't look at these platforms, I would never, ever find good deals. Patience is key. So I encourage you that once you figure out exactly what you want to buy, spend some time looking on these platforms on a daily basis. Even if you can only look online for 15 to 20 minutes a day, I definitely encourage you to do that, because once a good deal comes across, you'll be able to jump on that deal and you'll have all of your ducks in a row so that you can purchase that vehicle, not only for a good price, but a below market value price. But with that being said, you guys, I wanted to make this video because I get asked all the time how I find so many cars and how I'm able to buy so many cars at a below market value deal. And everything that I've outlined in this video is the exact steps and process that I follow. It really comes down to knowing what you want to buy, knowing how much you want to pay, and then being able to jump on that deal whenever you find it. And the only way you can do this is by simply being patient and looking at these platforms on a consistent basis. Like always, if you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.